There's a stunning quote that says, when you strike a woman, you strike a rock. This phrase has come to represent the strength and courage of the women of our country. The great people at Women24.com do a regular survey to find out what women are thinking about, how they feel about certain issues, and try and find out what makes women tick. Listen up, guys. You want to pay attention from this point. Joining me today is Dr. Darren Green and Nazneen Khan, our resident dietitian, and Lili Radloff from Women24.com. Welcome to Doctor's Orders.
Thank you very much.
Now, before we get stuck into the Female Nation survey results, let's go behind the scenes and find out how and why the survey is done.
The survey we did in 2009 had just over 6,000 entries, and this year, because we've been absent for a while, we got in there with 3,500. This was weighted against the national census of 2011, so it represents just over 1 million South African women. The things that really stood out for me about, the findings that we got back were that 82% of women thought that saw themselves as positive. I thought that was rather cool. Less cool was the fact that 1 out of 3 admitted to having an affair. 1 out of 4 admitted to have been willing to marry for money. 87% are going to the polls. Well, I think as South Africans, we can take away that even though we are so diverse as a culture and as a country, we share the same worries and concerns. What's great about this survey is it's not done for a specific marketing reason. It's more about the actual lives and the reality of what's happening in South African women's lives.
Now, Lili, there are a number of questions that give you insight into how happy women are. One of those is there's a tidbit of information that says that 82% of women describe themselves as being positive in life. What do you think has contributed to this?
Well, first I want to say that being positive and being happy isn't necessarily the same thing. I mean, who wants to describe themselves as being negative?
Yes.
I don't think even if you are a negative person, you'd like to say, well, I'm negative. So even if you're not happy right now, we feel that we have the potential to one day get there.
So you say happiness and sadness also can fluctuate, but you can have general contentment or peace.
It's about the positive outlook. Sorry, to Lili's point earlier on, it's about what you know your situation can eventualize to. And that's the positivity. And once you've made your peace with that, you feel content, you feel happy.
And it's also in a holistic way, like feeling that you're worthy, feeling that you are making a difference, feeling that there's a space for you in this world.
They say also in the survey that 42% of women actually feel anxious and nervous a lot of the time.
Oh, you see, we can multitask.
Yes, very positive and anxious at the same time.
In terms of anxiety and even depression that you asked about, 45% is the number. It's quite a high number. But I think it's also got to do with the demands placed upon women in modern society.
Talking about multitasking, you have to be the breadwinner sometimes. You need to be able to be mom and put a nice plate of food on the table for everybody.
Yes.
You need to be psychologist. You need to be best friend. You need to be excellent shopper.
You need
to be pressure.
Yeah, no, I think women might feel less anxious and less depressed if they felt a little bit more support. It's like a backlash. Women have come a very long way, and we now have more rights and equality, etc. But there's still a bit of a backlash against whether the support is there.
Yeah, but it seems like beauty products provide the support, because apparently women who use a lot of beauty products actually feel happier.
Yes, they said women who spend more than 1,000 rand per month on beauty products, there's a correlation between how high they rated themselves out of 1 to 10 on the happiness scale. And this is despite how much they earn.
1,000 rand a month every month.
1,000 rand a month every month. No, I like that stat because I think so many women out there, especially wives and mothers, never spend money on themselves. It's always the children first, and then the husband, and then the house, and but mostly, money just comes through and goes straight to the children.
I'm interested in the fact that a lot of women, actually 62% of women according to the survey, are both the primary caregivers and the breadwinners. That's a lot of pressure.
No, it's crazy, and one has to ask, where are the men?
Yes,
they're not bringing home the bacon anymore.
I've never
no wonder women are stressed.
brought home the bacon.
Oh.
Because of religious reasons.
No, some good questions. You asked where are the men, and what is their involvement if we're getting this feedback. And what's quite interesting to note is I think raising the children was often viewed in archaic times as a role for the mom at home. And the problem comes in now when we in modern society are starting to have role sharing in the home and the workplace. And a lot of it is centered around effective communication and also breaking through some cultural barriers that have been there for such a long time.
On top of that, they need to look good. There's extra pressure on looking good.
I think almost half, I think it's 49% of women said if they could, they would have plastic surgery.
Wow.
Which is like, half.
49% of women. When people look like this, it's very pretty. It's
exactly. Oh, you don't look younger, you just look like you've had surgery.
Women of our country are clearly facing some obstacles to obtaining better education, more freedom and greater independence for themselves and their families. We visited an organization that tries to help women on the journey to prosperity.
Abalimbezeka is a project come from CWD to help the home gardens, especially women, to their homes to grow the vegetable. All the vegetables go to the warehouse where the other farmers go there those days to clean properly these vegetables and pack to the box. Those boxes, they go to the schools where the families of those children in those schools, they're buying this veg. The women, they not get job, especially when you're uneducated. You can't get the job, but you got your hands and your eyes and your mind to think. Is where I start to promote the vegetables. The first thing is what make me always going forward to do this garden, because it's changing their life. All the women working this project, they know they're working for their salary.
When my vegetables are ready in my garden, I'll sell it and I have the money and pay a school fees for my kids. That's why I'm happy.
They working here till 6 o'clock. Later, they've been here early in the morning, 5 o'clock. Is what they feeling happy now. They start to see the freedom.
So any final thoughts? Where do you think the future of women in South Africa lies? You know, are we on the up? Are there improvements to be made?
I think we're definitely on the up. As for improvements, very many.
Yes.
I think we need to address the insanely high levels of violence towards women and children. Government needs to step up and make the legislation much harsher for rapists and abusers and stuff like that. So I think that's definitely a good place to start.
Nazni?
I just think that, we can do so much more educating our female population. They are the gatekeepers for their family health. And empowering them, definitely, because they make the decisions for what happens in that household. And I think once we empower them, we actually stand to gain a lot.
Darren, from a male perspective, what are your thoughts?
I think we need to start by educating the males of society. We need to look at the traditional roles that we thought women were created to do and realize that role sharing is vital.
I could hug you.
A tear from you.
No.
But thank you so much, guys, for a wonderful discussion. Thank you, Lili, for being part of our panel. And thank you, Darren and Nazneen, for your input. Remember, ladies, that you hold the key to your own potential. So go out there and show the world what you've got.